Three physical books this month. So weird. So got lots to talk about and not lots of time to do it. It's looking like rain, which is probably good because 2 hours north in Bishop they're battling fires and we've got nasty winds, so that means fire battles don't go well and all the fun stuff. So and tonight this is gonna come out 24 hours or so after the fact, but that's okay because prayer is timeless. I don't think it matters if we pray 5 years after we've learned about something. God isn't bound by our time. So I'm just gonna say welcome to the Jets. They sound like thunder with this weather. It sounds like thunder. Anyway, but tonight at like 2 in the morning or so, I have to drive my daughter to the airport, and there's going to be wind and possibly rain on the Cajon, and that is no fun. So, just saying, if you feel like praying, I won't complain. All right. So I'm going to do this wrap-up thing, and I only have the 3 physical books. So, okay, first up is The Night War by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, and there's a lot that I really loved about this book. I think I gave it 4 stars, and that might be, it might be closer to 3.75, but I'm not sure. So Miriam in here, she lives in a part of France that is, the Jews are all there, the Nazis occupy, and they keep, sequestering them more. And finally, she's warned to get her father out. And then she's rounded up with not with her mother. Her mother isn't there, but she's rounded up with a neighbor and a little girl, and they're all taken to, was it an aerodrome? They're all taken somewhere. And the little girl's mother gives her the little girl and says, take her and get her out of France. And she's like freaking out, already she's like, where's my mom? So she's having a hard time. And it's all about how she gets taken to a convent, and then she's given a task unexpectedly, and it wasn't planned. There's a lot that seems implausible, but I think we forget that the world wars were a different time. And things that people would normally not have asked of children, they kind of had to. There's no choice. And kids were both less mature and more mature at the same time back then. You didn't have to be one or the other. You could be mature in your ability to take care of household things or do, hard work while still being immature in enjoying being a kid and being, so it's kind of weird. But I mean, Miriam, she's a kid and she's scared and she's got some bravery, but she doesn't in other areas. And I don't know. I thought she was really well developed. I think I saw that some people didn't agree, and that's their prerogative. But there's I don't know how much to say. So here we go. I'll try to remember to put a stamp thing in here, spoiler part. So that we're going to have some spoilers here. All right. Here go the spoilers. Have I mentioned spoilers enough? Okay, spoilers. Okay, so the nuns at the school where Mary is sent is given, a couple of them are working kind of an underground railroad kind of thing through a castle nearby. And the one nun that does the actual taking of the people to the place is injured and can't do it. And the other nun has a condition that keeps her from being able to be to hide. Okay, I won't say what it is. The book does, but I'll let that go. But because it's not what's important, right? The fact is, she can't do it and keep these people safe. And I don't remember why she decides to see if Miriam can do it, but Miriam does, and she becomes kind of a runner, if you will, and she takes these people and all is well, right? Well, all isn't well, of course. Things go terribly wrong. There's lots of stuff I'm not saying, but there are things in here that ruined the book for me. It's why it's really closer to 3.5 stars for me. But she did such a good job of keeping Miriam a child while still making her mature, like you would see, and having that juxtaposition, the fear and all the things. I thought she did a really great job of characterization with her and with the nuns. The one nun who is desperate to save people, and then the other nuns are like, what do you think you're doing with this child? How dare you risk this child? All the things. I mean, people acted like people do in here. I don't know. I just thought it was really well done because it was really human. It was flawed and admirable all at the same time, which is what was going on during this horrific war, right? So, but the problem is the castle that is nearby is one that belonged to, at one time, to Catherine Medici. Yes, that Catherine Medici. And what I think happened is that Bradley discovered information about Medici that, we've learned over time. He who wins history, writes it. And they've discovered other evidence that kind of shows that Medici didn't actually have this attack on Protestants. It wasn't her. She wanted an attack on someone it was a political thing, very specific. And the people that led the attack actually went after the Protestants. And she has always been blamed for it. I think that she took that and she decided, I want to show that as part of history. I totally understand it. But she should have written that story. Trying to put it in here didn't work because the way, and here's the biggest spoilery part, the way that she does it is Miri can see Medici's ghost. That's right. The whole reason this entire thing works, the reason that Miri gets past the German guards, all these things is because of the help of a ghost. Yeah. No. So, the rest of it got a much better review than I think the book deserves, just because that part was so well done. But I was not happy. Now I have a tab here and I don't know why. So I'm going to see what this tab says. Why not? We live once. Oh, it might even be on, yeah. We don't choose how we feel, but we choose how we act. And yeah, I thought as I was reading it, that I was going to keep the book. I am not. So obviously, if anyone wants the book, let me know. I will send it to you. If my daughter doesn't want it. She at least gets first dibs. So anyway, there was that one. Then, finally finished February's The Little Nugget. This was the size, I think. Yeah, size thing. And I finally finished it. Okay, so the first... Basically, here's the deal. There are two primary points of view. There's a point of view up to, I don't know, maybe a third through it. And then there's the point of view for the other 2/3. That's a guesstimate. And the first point of view, I was bored. I was uninterested. Didn't do anything for me. It was like there was too much setup. I really think that's what it was. But once it got past that, things kind of changed a little bit. So at the beginning of this, we have a young woman and her friend. The friend's child has been taken. The courts have given the child to the very wealthy father after a divorce, and she wants her son. And so she's tried all kinds of things to get her son, including this friend literally kidnapping him. And then, the husband shows up, takes the kid back. And so they're looking for a more elaborate scheme, because this kid he's an American kid, and he's always trying to be kidnapped. There's he's called the Little Nugget because he's worth a lot of money. If anyone manages to kidnap him, they will be paid well, and they know it. So everybody is out to kidnap this kid. Okay? That first part, I was not impressed. And I was like, what have I gotten myself into? Because I love Wodehouse's Jeeves and Woosters. And so I'm like, what's going on, right? Well, then we get to the point where I think his name is Peter Burns. Yeah, Burns. All right, so Peter Burns is the fiance of this other gal. She convinces him to become a school teacher. This is a gentleman with independent means. She convinces him to become a school teacher at this school for boys where this little guy is going to be going. And his job is to kidnap this child. And so off Peter goes, not really happy about it, but he's going to do it because he wants to keep his fiance happy. There's a big backstory. He gets to the school, and yeah, this kid is a piece of work, and the school is kind of weird, and stuff is going on, all the stuff. And it just picks up, and it rolls, and it rolls. And it was really good at that point. I really loved it. Wodehouse did a really good job of making me concerned about something for a very long time. I was like, surely you're not going to let this happen, you know? And I'm not telling you if he did or didn't, because spoilers. But yeah, it was fun. And in here, there is a teacher, Glossop. Now, in the Jeeves and Wooster series with Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry, there is a friend, I can't remember his first name. His last name is Glossop. It's kind of a unique last name, you know. And Glossop, he is the tutor of this little boy in that episode, and it might be the first one even. It's just this like thing, but I'm like, Glossop, he's the tutor. In here, there's a Glossop who is a teacher. I'm thinking it's got to be the same guy. But whatever. I think the next one I plan to do is Damsel in Distress, because that is a brilliant movie with Fred Astaire, George and Gracie Burns. So I was like, yes, because yes. I think I gave it 4 stars, which might be barely generous because of that first third, but the second 2/3 was so good and so fun that I decided it was worth it. Okay. Then the last book of the month that I read was He Should Have Told the Bees. I actually listened to it on audio. And there's so much to say. Oh boy. Okay. So in this one, you have a young woman, Beck, who has spent her whole life. So this book, we've got an interesting situation. So Beck has grown up on this farm with her father. They are beekeepers. They have animals. It's a farm. And it makes just enough to keep them going. And they've done this farm work since she was a very little girl. Her mother left them when she was 5. And they're back. Their mother left them when she was 5, and it really messed up the little girl. She was having trouble at school and everything, so the dad quit his job. I think he worked at a bank, and came home to be a farmer and to homeschool her and to help her work through all the things. Her dad was an amazing man. He wasn't perfect, but in her eyes, he was. And he reminds me a little bit like the antithesis of my Carrie Finley in Fast Forward. Not antithesis, but like mirror. You know, she was a mom who did everything to protect her daughter. They stayed pretty isolated. All that, you know, ran a farm. All that similar stuff, but not quite the same. But then Dad dies. And at the trustee meeting that Beck has to go to, And we know this is coming because of, you know, the alternate storyline. She discovers that she is not the sole owner of the property that she grew up on. Meanwhile, concurrently, we learn about Callie, who has an alcoholic mother, really messed up woman, and has pretty much given Callie the worst life imaginable. I mean, if other adults had been paying attention, that kid would have been in foster care. And I'm not a fan of just ripping kids out of the home because it's not a perfect home. But this is definitely one of those times where when you've got a kid who is praying for rain so that they can have a good dinner, there's something wrong. Okay, I'm just saying. And you'll have to learn about that, you know, in the story. But it was a bad life. Every time something went well, they up and moved. And that I totally related to. I mean, it was kind of weird because I have this really close parallels with Callie that are very similar and totally opposite at the same time. I had an alcoholic father. Actually, he would be mad at me for saying that. I had a father who was a drunk, and he has very strong, or had very strong opinions about isms. He actually wasn't an alcoholic. He literally could stop anytime he wanted. He just chose not to. He liked being drunk. Whatever. So, and he did. I mean, there were many times he would just like, I'm done. No more drinking for years. Just cold turkey. Oh well. It was very strange. It was one of those things where I feel like he had an addictive personality, but not an addictive body. If that makes any sense. My dad is crazy weird. But and we up and moved all the time. So I had those two things really in common with this child. I mean, it was out of the blue sometimes. It's like, yeah, we're moving this weekend. I'm like, what? So it was a very comparable in those two areas. But her mother was her only parent. I had mom, and her mother was not stable. My dad, despite the drunkenness, was a stable guy. He took care of us. He fed us. We never wanted for anything. And so you really can't complain, you know? You really can't. So, but anyway, they meet. They've never met each other. They don't know. Beck can't figure out why this gal has been left part. They're co-trustees. So they can run this farm together, or they can sell it, or one of them can buy out the other. But one of them can't sell it to someone else. So they're kind of stuck together, right? Right about the time that Callie finds out about this, she can't figure out why she's been named. She doesn't know who this guy is. She doesn't know anything about this. What is going on? Right about that time, her mother shows up and is wanting to go into a rehab facility. And this facility is going to be crazy expensive. And guess who gets to pay for it? And so she has a need to sell this place so that she can, and they will get a lot of money. Developers want it. It will be a very big deal. But there's so much history behind this. I feel like this is the cousin to the Secret Keepers of Old Depot Grocery, because it's not the same story. It's not the same types of things, but it is the same effect of a family with all the secrets, the effect on it, you know, all the secrets, all the family. It really is. In this one, there is so much good counseling. I really feel like someone who might have resisted getting some good therapy, that someone who needs it, if they read this, they might see what it would do for them and how it would help them, and why they maybe should consider it, because there's some really good stuff in here. For people who like a limited romance, you're going to get that in here, which I love. And I mean, I feel like I really want more from these characters, but that's actually what's great about books, that she wrapped up everything that this book is about. I just want to know more because I like the characters. But that's what's so great when we don't get that, because then we actually can just decide for ourselves how things go. And, you know, it's the future. The story is wrapped up. It's so good. I think this one's my favorite. I really loved this is like, I think this is her third book, and there are similarities, you know, like I said, it's a cousin to Secrets of Depot Grocery, but there are also some similarities to The Edge of Belonging. Not as overt, but still there. Just a really good book, and absolutely love it. For people who are concerned about triggery kind of things, there are things in there, the alcoholism being one, and a couple others, that in general are definitely things that a lot of people want to know about. This one, it is so distantly removed in what we learn that I don't think it would really be a hard thing for most people who have been involved in some way in those situations. At one of those situations was me, and it played out the same for me in general, and it didn't faze me at all. I mean, not at all. If nothing, it made me more sympathetic toward different characters. So I'm just going to leave that there. Anyway, 5 stars all the way. This is one that several things about it, I might have, even if there is such a thing as 6, I might have even pushed it up to 6 because of those things, even though there are other books that I probably love more. But it's just so well done. And the whole bee thing does a lot to support the story. So it's not just a neat place. It really does weave in really, really well. So I'm just saying. I forgot 2 books that I DNF'd. I don't know. So I'm back. Hi, how you doing? And yeah, let's talk DNFs. So the second one I DNF'd. Hey, like I did that, right? Yeah. I did decide I'm not going to finish this now, but I might pick it up someday in the future and see if I want to continue. Made it about halfway. I don't know how I feel about it. I actually talked about how, you know, there's problems with the parents and the kid sneaking around, and that is definitely some of it. But it's also, I don't want to say it's boring, because there are interesting parts, but as a whole, it's not engaging. It's not keeping my attention. And so for that reason, I set it aside, because it might not be the fault of the book. If I were concerned about children reading it after me, and I was pre-reading this so that my kids could read or not read, I wouldn't bother. I'd just move along to something else, because there isn't, you know, by the time a kid gets to this point, they can probably see the problem, but it's still kind of a balance, you know. This kind of stuff I prefer to talk about with teens instead of preteens, but yeah, so I don't know. It's kind of, the kids are, the rebel kid is right, and all the adults are wrong, and only the kids can save the planet kind of thing. It's not that, but it's got that feel. So yeah, I that one I set aside. And also Precious Vein by Mary Webb. I don't remember where I read about it, but what I had read sounded really good, and I thought I was really going to like it. And yeah, I didn't. I was bored stiff through about the time I thought it was starting to get interesting, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, and it just went right back. So I had an interesting moment in a boring book, and so I also DNF'd 2 books. So 16 attempts, well, plus the ones that I didn't finish, but 16 attempts, 2 DNFs, 14 reads, and the books are good. So there's that. Okay, these are in any order. They're not, this is not the order that I read them, but I'm just going to go down the list and call it good. So I read The Wind Off the Small Isles by Mary Stewart. There's a lot of Mary Stewart coming. And this one, it's a novella. It's really short. I think I give it, yeah, I gave it 4 stars. If it had been a full-length novel, it absolutely would have been 5, because a lot of what she did in here was really, really good. Basically, you know, it's like 100 years ago, or almost. There was a volcano on this island, and it erupted the night that a young woman and her boyfriend eloped. They were never heard from again. Now it's today, and this is like local legend. An assistant and a writer show up to do some writing, to get some local color, all things, and the story just kind of goes from there, and you learn, you know, whatever. And I can't tell really anymore because it all gives it away. So it was fun. I wish it was. The only reason it got 4 stars is because for a novella, it was reasonably decently fleshed out. It's still just a novella, but actually, what I gotta come back. One of the reasons that it got 4 stars is that some of the things that I don't like that she keeps doing in books didn't happen in here. You know, there's not this stupid decisions regarding men and things like that. So just throwing that out there. Next up, I read The Power of Writing It Down, I think is the name of it. Let me find out who the author is. Hold on. By Allison Fallon. I gave this 3 stars. It wasn't a bad book. There was a lot of, you know, interesting things about the brain science of writing and all the things and, you know, whatever. But I gave it 3 stars because, I mean, most of it is stuff we know. It wasn't anything earth-shattering. It's just kind of a nice reminder. And because this is put out by Zondervan, a Christian publisher, although it seems less and less these days. And there were word choices and examples and things that you don't expect to find in a Christian book. I'm just leaving it there. So not sorry I read it. I know I skimmed a lot of it because a lot of it was like, you know, it's kind of repetitive. But if someone hasn't read stuff about the science behind writing and all that stuff, it might be a good place to start if, again, those occasional word choices and things don't bother you. This is coming from someone who just listened to a book full of very bad word choices, and I'm really sad because I think that this is going to have to be the end of that series. So frustrating. Next, I read Falling Between the Pages by A.M. Heath. I think that's Anita. Anyway, I don't know. But Falling Between the Pages. Why did I take so long to read this book? She's recommended it when people ask on avid readers of Christian fiction. She and others have recommended it as a bookish book. Why? Why have I taken so long to read it? This book is so much fun. So the main character, Wendy, is not a likable character. She's not. And that's okay. Mini break there, so I don't even know where I was. I need lotion. Hang on. I know it's a foofy, and it's a foofy, and it's a foof. Don't you dare lick me. There is no licking of the meese. I know, Neville. You know better. You wouldn't lick me. No. You're a good boy. And then you are just a fat sausage. You're such a fat sausage. Yeah, it's a foofy. Okay, get down. Lay down, Toothless. Go lay down, Neville. Okay. Sorry. Dog break. Do you want to smell the lotion? Smell the lotion. Just don't lick the lotion. Oh, brother. These dogs, they're going to be the death of me. Okay, so Wendy. Where were we? We were Wendy. Yeah, she's not a likable character at first. She's not. But it's, you know, every character has their character arc. And hers is kind of her like it's the arc. The arc itself isn't her likability, but because of her character arc, the likability shifts in a realistic, and you know, you care about her. You just want to shake her sometimes. Meanwhile, what is his name? Peyton. Peyton is her coworker, and he's just a really likable guy, almost too likable. and yet he's not perfect. But so you kind of have definitely an opposites attract and a loathe to love thing going on here. Now, the basic gist is they both work for a Christian publishing company, and their boss has tasked them to write a serial novel, each one, something coming out every week, that taking turns each week writing this novel. They are as opposite, again, as you can get. She is spreadsheets and outlines and having every single detail planned out for the next 6 chapters before you even think about writing anything in this one. And, you know, you got to pay attention. She keeps up all these spreadsheets of all the things that have happened, and she sends them to Peyton when she's done writing her chapter, and he never even looks at them. He just sends it. And so the story that they write is very much them, but not. Completely not. And yet, the root issues underneath them and all the things, it is them. And so it just kind of goes through, and they kind of work through some issues. And it's really funny because Wendy isn't a likable character. Peyton isn't annoying like she thinks he is. He really isn't. And yet, I don't know. I feel like they both had a big amount of growth to do. Even while Peyton, again, he's like almost too nice, and yet it's real. It's genuine. But there's substance beneath it that you don't know is there. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just a really fun story. It's got enough rom-comminess to it to make it the kind of romance that I can enjoy. But also because there's just more to the story than, you know, guy meets girl, they start hanging out, they have a fight, they get back together, they live happily ever after. It's more than that, which is so good. But yeah, really had fun with it, and I'm glad I finally read it. I started it when I went down to be with my daughter when she had the baby, and finally finished it. You know, once I got back, I wasn't, just didn't have time. But yeah, great book. Okay, so for Anne of the Island, I'm going to actually just read my review because it says it all better than I'm going to get it out, and it'll be faster. And I am trying not to take forever on this. So let's just read my review. All right, it says, I think I finally defined what makes Ellen Montgomery such a great writer. I've always imagined it was her characterization and how she just makes places as complex as her human characters, but I didn't realize just how understated that was. Montgomery understood people, their foibles and virtues, their quirks and faults. She got them all. She understood how imaginative young boys and girls would grow up, how they would still be themselves even as they became more of themselves in different ways. Paul Irving and Anne are perfect examples of two highly sensitive and romantic children coming to maturity and losing connection with their fairy tale selves. And it's as if C.S. Lewis read these books and said, I'm going to show that in fantasy, and added it into his Narnia series. Because it's there. I almost wish I knew if it were true. But I don't know if he ever actually even read any of Montgomery's work. And if he didn't, he missed out. In the end, we get to see how our ideals may not change as much as we think they do, but they sure can look very different. What Anne wanted deep down is what she got. She just expected it to have a more storybook facade instead of the rather prosaic familiar. And isn't that how life is so often? You know, it didn't get me until the end of reading it this time that what she wanted in her tall, dark, and handsome, brooding kind of, you know, ideal man, what she really wanted was Gilbert. She just thought it would look like this. And when she found that, it wasn't, because it wasn't Gilbert, right? And so, you know, it's like sometimes what we think we want doesn't look like we think it will look. It's still what we want. We're not wrong about what we want. It just doesn't look how we think it should. And when you get rid of your expectation of what something should look like, you might see that you have what you actually wanted. Just throwing that out there. So yeah, Anne of the Island for the Year of Maud. Read that. Loved it. Looking forward to Wendy Poplar's. Okay, next up, I read the next Grantchester Mysteries by James Runcie, Sidney Chambers, and The Forgiveness of Sins. And in that one, we get quite a few different stories. I think I gave it 5 stars because it was just so well done, and each of the individual things were unique and different. But the one in Florence, there was something about it that, I don't know, I didn't enjoy it as much as the others. And yet I didn't enjoy it not enough to drop the stars. So they're doing a good job over there. I really like the Grantchesters, and I think it's one of those things, it's so unusual for me, but where I disagree with him theologically, usually a lot of that would really affect my enjoyment of the reading because it is such strong disagreement where I disagree. But in this, instead of it being a fault of the story, instead it feels like a fault of the character. And I like flawed characters who don't have it all together, don't know everything. And so for some reason it's working, and it's not, and maybe it's because it's not trying to push an agenda. I was afraid at the beginning of this series that there were going to be a few agendas that were being pushed. And it wasn't. So this one was this the one that had, I think it had a kidnapping and fire. I might be getting them all confused because there's so many. That's why I waited a while to listen to another one, and I'm still like burning them. So I don't know, but I know they went to Florence. That was my least favorite part, but there was some good stuff in there. So, it's just all... the Forgiveness of Sins, that was really good. I really love watching his marriage. I love seeing that he, as a minister, he has the same problems that a lot of husbands have, and yet he's kind of in a position that he should be able not to have quite as many of them, and yet he does. So it's kind of a neat thing. Okay, guys, this is another one I want to read my review, and then I may have a few other things to say because I said it better here than I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about something that takes a long time to get to my point, so why not read, right? Okay, it's Unequal Affections, a Pride and Prejudice retelling by Laura S. Ormiston, and this book is about, well, it'll tell me. So this is one of the best Austen retellings I've ever read. The book bills itself as what would have happened if Elizabeth Bennet had accepted Mr. Darcy's first proposal. And it is. But instead of the expected mercenary machinations, gosh, I really went into it, didn't I? Of a country miss trying to improve her family's standing, we're treated to a young woman, Lizzie, who is determined to make the best of a less than perfect alliance. While this book is deeply romantic, it isn't inappropriately so. I don't usually enjoy such an intense romantic plot, but it works here because it's about more than emotions and warm fuzzies. This is about choosing to honor someone you've promised yourself to despite the obstacles. The personal growth shown by Lizzie and Darcy are great character studies in learning to live with less of self and more of him. The faith shown in this book is subtle, but it is present and rich. I'll be thinking on the lessons that I don't even know if the author meant to teach for some time. And I'll be checking out her other books, just in case. Yeah, so in here, Lizzie obviously doesn't want to accept that first proposal. He's offensive. And she's just like, but she also knows that her family, Jane was kind of the hope for the family, and then Bingley's gone. So if her father dies, they're going to be starving. This is the only way she can provide for her family acceptably at that time. What is she going to do? But on the other hand, this Darcy dude says he loves her. And he's marrying her despite all the objections because he loves her. And while she is offensive as all get out, I think I said she. While he is offensive as all get out, she also knows that for someone to make that offer despite knowing it's not a good marriage for him, he must really love her. So maybe this isn't so bad. So she asks for time to consider, which it kind of affronts his pride, you know. And then obviously she accepts, because that's the whole premise of the story, right? And so this is a look at where things could have gone and how they could have gone differently. We get Wickham and Lydia and all that goes with that it's a totally different thing, because it is set in a totally different way. Familiar scenes show up in different places now, but because the characters are the same, the same types of things still show up, but they're at different times, and maybe there is a different motivation behind it. You know, Caroline Bingley is Caroline Bingley. You know, I mean, and there's just no getting around it. There's just so much. Her father is her father and makes the same stupid decisions that he makes. Even with all the love that he still has. I mean, it was just really, really well done. And when I say subtle faith, I mean, the faith it's subtle compared to an overtly, I'm going to teach a spiritual lesson kind of thing. But there is a lot of rich depth in both of their faith. You can tell that they both have a true, genuine, you know, and it was really, really good. And I think I will read it again because of the faith and because of the lessons. I mean, Elizabeth, she was, you know, she's going to marry this guy. She needs to develop a loyalty to him and to his family and make it genuine, even when and when he finds out how offensive and awful he has been. It's hard for him, but it also shows his character growth in becoming more Christ-like, not just becoming more socially acceptable. And that was a really neat, it was just, I was shocked at how good it was. And I want to read more by her, but I will reread this one. Definitely will reread this one. Okay, next up I read Mary Stewart's Wildfire at Midnight. This took place on Skye, which is why I chose it, because I'm doing the whole Skye writing, right? That sounds funny. I'm Skye writing. But this is another one of Mary Stewart's romantic suspenses. Giannetta goes to Skye to get away from the stress of her life, and she gets there, and weird things are happening. A young woman has died. It looks like other things are going on, and I figured out the what's going on, who's doing it thing pretty early. But Stewart did a fabulous job of making me doubt. And I almost changed my mind. I got to the point where I was convinced for a little bit that it was someone else and that I'd called it wrong. And then something happened and I went, no, you're right. And, you know, the story goes along and yeah, I was right. But it was really, 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 really well done. And all the things that happened. So Giannetta, she's kind of strange because on the one hand, she's a strong character. I like strong female characters. I do. I get tired of the invincible strong female character, and I get tired of the I don't like damsels who are constantly in distress. The whole I'm just no. Giannetta seems like she's just kind of beaten down, and I know one of the reasons, I think I put this in the review, one of the reasons is that her faith doesn't allow her to have this divorce from her husband that she has. Hope you get it fixed before the rain comes. I don't know. But, so we got a drum beat going on. Yeah. Oh, brother. Sorry, this is what you get. So, but then things start happening, and it was this one was really, really suspenseful, and I would have given it 5 stars because, I mean, there was this one part. Oh my gravy. I got Neville, it's just Kevin. It's okay. You want to go see Kevin? You could go see Kevin. No. Yes, no, yes, no. What the heck is that? Okay, let's go see Kevin. they're on Sky, all the mists and everything went, and someone is whispering her name. And oh my gravy, I got chills. It did all the good things. It was so good. And now the dogs. Smile. So anyway, but the reason I did not give it 5 stars, and it may be petty of me, but seriously, I have to be so very careful. There is a reason why it makes sense that she did what she did. But it feels to me like the author chose her a happily ever after in theory over what's really going to be a good choice for this character. And I really can't say more. I can't without being spoilery that way. But again, it's Mary Stuart and women making really bad choices regarding men. Just not happy. But seriously, there were several really creepy scenes. Man, talk about... Okay, the next Mary Stuart was Stormy Petrel. And this one, we have a Cambridge professor who is also a writer who is going off to Scotland for a break at, on the holidays. And her brother's going to come up and do some bird watching. They're going to have a great time together. And while she's up at this little cottage she's rented out, it's very remote. While she's up there, one night, this man just comes into her house and she's like, wait, what? And everything kind of goes from there. Look, who the good guy and bad guy and everything in that was really obvious to me at the beginning. And I think I said in my review, I don't know why I like her book so much when there are so many things that I don't like in them. But I don't know, her writing is so good and she pulls you in regardless of those things. And so, for what it's worth, this one in a lot of ways was way better. But the villain in this book, to me, was I don't know, he's a little bit one-dimensional now that I think about him. But even still, I have always thought that they talk about the midges in Scotland. And do they talk about them in England? I know they talk about them in Scotland. I've read it before. All this time, I thought midges were just another word, a Scottish word, because I've always thought of them as Scotland, for mosquitoes. And I learned that they're not. Okay. Well, there's one for the books. I didn't know. So, Stormy Petrel, I think I gave it 4 stars. Let me see. Yes. 4 stars for Stormy Petrel, and which is a bird. And I don't know. Really glad I read it. So there's that. It was fun, but there were things that I was like, what? So I don't know. What is it about? Can someone explain to me about Mary Stuart? I'd really like to know. Then the last one I read by Mary Stuart this month, I believe, was This Rough Magic. I believe it's her most popular. Everybody loves it. And I gave it 5 stars. It might be my favorite as far as the suspense mystery side of things. Definitely. I loved this book. But, and again, there were things that I was like, but it was just really, really good. I like the Rose Cottage better. I do. But for romantic suspense, with heavy emphasis on suspense, definitely this one. I just making sure the hubby doesn't need me. This one, she's on Corfu. And to be honest, I really thought that was why this was her most popular. Yeah, no, it's not that. It's actually just really good. So here we have an actress who has come to spend time with her sister who is pregnant, and she's just getting off, and it's really cool because because she's an actress, she's got a maturity for her age that you would get in I don't know, I want to say jaded, but you do kind of become a little bit jaded, but you also have that kind of romanticized view of life too. So Stuart did a really good job of balancing those two things. Sorry, that box is going to fall. And so because she did such a good job with that, I don't know. I don't know, but it was really good. The storyline of what's going on and who's happening, and she did a great job of making you doubt who is what. I kind of figured stuff out, but I wasn't sure until I was sure, and it was before halfway. The true person who is messed up made a mistake before the halfway point for sure. I'd say about a third of the way, between a third and a half and halfway, it was like, you just gave yourself away. Okay. And so that was fun. But then something happened later that I actually went, did she make an error back there? Because she had me almost changing my suspicions, which was really kind of neat and kind of fun. But I liked the idea. So in this one, our villain isn't the product of psychological trauma. I'm kind of tired of that. It's not that doesn't happen. I know it does. But sometimes people are just evil because they choose to be evil. Because they want what they want, and this is the means by which they are willing to get it. And so that was really good. And it was also really good that some of the things that you think have happened haven't, and other things have, and so there are lots of twisties and turns. So this Rough Magic, if you want Stuart and you want suspense and you want a gripping story, I would say this one. If you really kind of want a slight suspensey Stevenson feel, then you want the Rose Cottage. So yeah, excellent. But then my last two might be my favorite reads of the month. I'm trying to think. Well, He Should Have Told the Bees is the best read of the month. Definitely. But these next two are probably my favorite reads. All right. I read, let me find the authors. I got to find the authors because there's two of them. And one is Anna Elliott. And the other is Charles Veley, I think. So these are the Blackout murders. It's the Homefront sleuthing mystery, okay? And the first one is the Blackout murders. Guys, this was so good. There are so many characters. You have the young woman who moves to this little village. She's only been there once before to see her grandmother as a little girl. And I think it's her grandmother. Was her grandmother or aunt? I think it's her grandmother. Anyway, either the grandmother or the aunt. But she comes, or it would be a great aunt because it was definitely an older woman. But she comes as a little girl. She's only there once. Then she leaves. And then she comes back when this woman has died to inherit. And she needs this, place. So the village is all very excited to see her. So there's her. It's a tea room. So she's thinking maybe she'll open it, but maybe not. She doesn't know, right? She gets there and it's dilapidated. It's a mess. Okay, so there's her. There's a ex-Scotland Yard inspector who lives in the village because his nephew lives there and he just wanted to retire and get away from London. So he lives there and he just fishes and walks and, just lives. Then there is the constable, and the constable is a, really cool guy. You have a woman who works, she's got a little boy, and she works at the pub because it gives her a roof over their head with her mother. Her mother lives with them. Her mother has rheumatoid arthritis, is in constant pain, very, very difficult circumstances, and her husband is off fighting. There's another gal who lives nearby. She's an herbalist. She used to be, was she a professor or was she a chemist? I don't know. But she's an herbalist now. Older woman. Her name is Kate. Great. I think her name is Kate. Kate, something. Great. So you've got at least 5 point of view characters. At least. And they're constantly coming in. They let you know who it is right up front. But they're so much fun. In the sense of all this information coming at you from different... But so this is World War II. This is the village. They've got the blackouts, curtains and everything. And you've got your warden and other people that are just, village annoyances and all the things that go on, and then someone dies, and then things happen, right? So they've got to figure out who this person is, why this person died, all the things. It's because you've got all these points of view coming at you from different angles. There was a little bit of it that felt like The Appeal by Janice Hallett, where you've got all this information and then you've got to like kind of put it in order. It had a hint of that to it, but it was so good, so good. I figured out half of it, but not the other half, which was kind of neat. I was like, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. But then, or did I? That might be the second book. I may not have figured this one out. I don't remember. Sorry. But the second one, I'm pretty sure there were definitely parts of the second one that I did not figure out. So anyway, absolutely excellent. Can't wait for the whole series. I was so excited. But so then I read The Spectre at Hawthorne Hall, which was the next one in the series. And there's a third one out and another one coming. They're coming out really fast, but the third one's audio isn't out yet. I'm like, gimme. So The Spectre at Hawthorne Hall, basically the Lord, it's not a lord, but the master of the hall keeps seeing a ghost. And he can't figure out why, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he's freaking out, and it's messing up the family. So that's going on there. There are other things going on. The one gal's husband has been injured, and so she goes to London. So then there's this London connection. And so and as soon as her husband was injured in the London, I'm like, okay, something's going to go on here. What is it? What's going to happen? And I had to, all the things. So there's all kinds of things going on. The inspector is really upset because there's this new young whippersnapper who is trying to edge out his nephew in his job. And the nephew is really funny. He does not like the gal who inherited, I can't remember her name, but the gal who inherited the tea shop. He doesn't trust her. He didn't like her. Or I'm almost wondering if maybe he likes her too much. We'll see. But he's got his suspicions and stuff. But he handles this situation so well and so honorably. And I love how the uncle isn't just trying to step in and make him do what he wants him to do to keep his place. But he is keeping an eye on it, and he is giving little nudges, maybe, here. It's really, really, really well done. Love this series. It's clean language and smutchual. There's nothing. And they're some of the most fun books. As a matter of fact, at the same time I started reading them, I had spoken to Jennifer Miss Morgan on the podcast, and the episode's out. I'll try to remember to link it, because we had a mini brainstorming session at the end of that thing, because I've always had this idea about a World War II series, and so we started talking, and then we got off, and I created a Google Doc and started putting in a bunch of information, and she came along and she started putting in we had a blast brainstorming this, and then both of us got really busy with admin-y kind of stuff, and we haven't had time to get back to it. But then I had another idea, and I'm like, so I've got to go put that in. But this feel in this series is what I would really love to see in that series. And by the way, her On Victory's Wings series, Jennifer Miss Morgan, sounds amazing. So if you're looking for World War II, I would seriously go check those out. I can't wait to get to them. I'm reading our Yellow Tape Letters by Caitlin Miller. Yes, Caitlin Miller. And so I'm reading that first, loving it so far. But as soon as I get done with that, my next World War II is definitely going to be Jennifer Miss Morgan's. So there's that. So I read 14 books. That's not too shabby. I got through a couple more almost, but not quite. So, there'll be some more coming for April that were like holdovers from March. But all in all, it was a really good reading month, even though I didn't read that much. I mean, I listened, but there were 10 full days, more like 12, 13 full days that I didn't do any physical reading at all. So considering that, I thought it was a pretty decent month. What'd you read? Are there any that I need to put on my list? Just saying. Would like to know. Would like to know. And yeah, hubby's home, and I'm gonna go see how he's doing. The clouds are getting darker, which is really funny because over here they're getting darker, and over here there's like a break, so it's kind of weird. It's getting lighter in here and darker over there. It's just bizarre. But and yeah, I'll be back with stuff. With stuff. And yeah, physically speaking, I can share these. And that's it. The rest were all, there was one ebook, and the rest were all audio. So 3 physicals, 1 ebook. And so what does that make it? 10? Did I say 14 books? So like 10 audiobooks? Yeah, kind of went a little nuts. But again, if my daughter wants this one, then it's not up for grabs. But if she doesn't, and you want the Night War, let me know, and I will send it to somebody. Yeah, I think I'll go. You have a good one.